Hey everybody, Brad Linder back at you again with another live one tonight. We're going to be doing the Invaders, the classic Marvel book with Captain America, Submariner, and the android Human Torch. I'm going to be doing Captain America as a three-part piece of this. I'm going to be doing this 11 by 17, so here's Cap. We've got that going on, and I'm going to knock it out from there. So let me share this with the page real quick, and we'll get started. And I'm going to share it over with the YouTube channel, as always. And we're going to get knocking this thing out. It's going to be fun. Hopefully, I'll get this done quick enough to add another piece tonight. Maybe. If not, I will be definitely adding the other two pieces tomorrow and moving on from there. So bear with me while I share this just a second. And there we go. Cool deal. Now, with that said, I'm going to grab the old tool of doom here, the pencil, and we're going to go from there. So, as always, I laid this out pretty tight, but it's a little bit darker tonight, and you guys may be able to see it a little more clear than usual because of the fact that I laid it out a little thick so you could tell what's going on, because I got asked to do my layouts just a little harder because of the fact that so many people have asked to see more of it for the layout process. So I was like, cool, no problem. I'm just going to get right in here and start laying out some hard lines here and kind of sketch this in a little bit and get something established so we can move forward. And then we're going to get right into it as always. I love this series. I always have been a fan of this series. As long as I can remember, this has been one of my absolute favorites. And got something on the page there. Got some red ink from earlier. So I have to get that. I'll have to draw over that now. But, oh well. But, yeah, I was taking some inking stuff from earlier and finishing it up for the day so I could call it and get onto this piece for you guys. But, man, this thing has gone through 20 different incarnations. And it's so weird. I hardly ever get artist block. I normally get writer's block. I don't get artist block at all. And this is one of those times where I've gone through like 10, maybe 15 incarnations of this thing so far. And it has driven me bonkers. The hospital's certifying me right now is what's going on. It is that rough. I started off with the Submariner character, and it got really weird really fast. I mean, he kind of came out like a slick car salesman type of look, and it was just like, this is not working. So I came in, started out with Cap, and did the vote from you guys, and I appreciate everybody that gave feedback on it when I questioned you and polled everybody. Thank you so much for the help and assistance on that. I am so happy that we got this one going, and it kind of forced my hand just a little bit on getting more of this done. So hopefully it's going to come out nice and neat. But like I said, we're going to see how it goes from here. I'm just going to kind of edge this in a little bit. But I think this is going to be cool because this is not the 1930s World War I Cap. It is World War II. So he does have his round shield already established and in place. So I noticed something funny when I was drawing this, because I always draw Captain America like this with these little prongs for his wings to come off his head. And my daughter pointed it out that they look like horns, and she is turning 13 this summer, and she's gotten a little bit more of a maturing personality and gotten a little more animated. So she decided to say, are you going to draw? Are you drawing Thor with shrunk wings, or are you going to put, in the Daredevil horns and just call it a day? And I thought that was just completely perfect snark for a person of her age, and I really dig it. She is becoming a wild card around here. So, but anyway, now I'm going to put this a little bit of a shift here, and nobody ever does this, but I'm shifting to one side because the skull doesn't change shape, but the costume does a little bit in the way that he's leaning. So if you notice, this is a little more prominent on this side and a little lower on this side. I do that because of the fact that there's a shift of balance. So bear with me on that and don't freak out and it's like his head's off. No, it's not. I do that because of the fact that I want to show the motion. And there are a couple of books you can study to get that kind of idea in the way humans move and the way fabrics move on them. I mean, I'm not the greatest at it by any stretch, but I have an understanding enough of an anatomy to know, that you can move stuff around and it's a little more pliable and a little more responsive than most people actually draw. So, because everybody draws these really cool shots, but they never move certain pieces of anatomy, and it's just like, really? If you want to go photorealism or make it move and make it come to life, man, go in and really knock it out of the park with putting in something like that before you start going all crazy with it. And it'll change your game. It will change your game. So I always try to push myself into new avenues of expression and reaching this stuff out. So I like to go a little bit retro, so I tend to lean a little more sharp with my style in this regard, where I'm still doing my animated look, and keeping it clean. It's just I tend to lean more towards a Jack Kirby style of reference on this, and there's a lot of Walt Simonson in this too, because I love doing Captain America in a classic look. I mean, he is the original American hero, and I love drawing this guy this way because of the fact that everything comes out in a heavy line and then goes back into these fine, sharp details, and then goes back into a heavy line, and then goes back into these sharp details. And with that, I always have fun with it because I love drawing Submariner, and I don't think I've ever drawn him in front of a live audience before. And I mean, like, ever. I haven't done a card. I haven't done any images. And I think I'm going to be able to do this one and pull it off because he's one of my favorite characters, and I really, really dig him, especially in his solo series. I didn't like him as much in the Avengers or the Fantastic Four stuff, but the Invaders, love it, love it, love it, love it. Because it's got that classic look to it and just blows everything else out of the water, design-wise and compositionally, and pretty much every other aspect. I mean, he's Superman out of the water. He's Superman in a Speedo, basically. And you don't have to worry about him competing against Aquaman in that regard because it just doesn't have the same feel or dynamic at all. I mean, this guy is a true Atlantean character, and he is blowing it away every single time that he appears. If you want the Prince of the Undersea World, that's definitely that character. But hey, Johnny. Oh, man. Johnny calls me Mr. Fancy now. Great. Thanks, man. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. But for those that can't see this on the YouTube channel because it's on Facebook, the dude is commenting, and Johnny came on and said that he calls me Mr. Fancy now, and it's just he's always got some little name for me at every time he comes on. So, but I appreciate him being here, and it's awesome to hang out and get this going. So we're going to hang out and work on this for a little while. And if you guys have any questions or comments that you want to post about and ask me about, now's the time, because you got me here for a little bit and knocking this bad boy out, and I want to see where it goes from here. And we're going to go into all this fun stuff here. Knocking out the character, knocking out the character. So let me know. I don't mind. Ask away, ask away, ask away. But I'm going to go ahead and get this arm in place. A little bit of John Buscema there. Get that nice triangle going off this arm right here where the pec and deltoid go together. And then you have that nice impact from the bicep underneath. And he always webbed that together like this. And it's just boom. There's that arm. Just bigger than life. I always loved that. That's the reason I got hooked into his Conan stuff. And I used to love to read that stuff. I've got all those Savage Conan books, the great big ones, the black and white magazine style. I really dug all of the colored stuff he did too in the regular Conan series, but the Savage Sword of Conan was my favorite. And I think I have just about every one of those in my collection now. I like to build up this line weight. A lot of people are like, you sketch back and forth, don't do that. I don't care. I like building up the line weight. And when I pencil, I like to get that heavier mass and bulk to it, because that's a divot right there between the weight of that shoulder and that pec coming down. So you have a mass crease going right here. And by the way, if you see these little shiny flakes on my skin, I was working on a shelving unit for my daughter and putting it in her room, and we had to glue some stuff on for the backing. We like to seal the backing of our shelves so they don't come loose with those little tacks. And I had a tube of super glue explode in my hand, so I've got little bits stuck everywhere, and it won't come off. But yeah, it is what it is. So if you notice that, then that's what that funny look on my fingers are. So anyway, drawing in that tricep there, get in that bulky bicep. We're going to put in a little bit of that interior. Not much, because a lot of people overdevelop this. I don't know all the anatomy and the names for it, the technical names for it, but I know it's there. Those little muscles that go right here, down in between, they're the muscles that actually connect to the center deltoid and lift your arm up. And it's just kind of a support shock underneath that little muscle, and there's one on the inside as well. And the thing is, a lot of people will develop that up really, really thick and bulky, and it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a really tight, small band. So just FYI, if you're drawing comics and you start bulking out that little piece in the arm to make it add muscle, a lot of people like to put it way out here over. You can't do that. It doesn't exist that way. So, I mean, unless you purposely have the guy develop it and you want to show how that musculature is built, then that's one thing. But you have to have an extreme workout to make that develop to where it's that big and massive. I see guys trying to, add that in their art all the time. Don't do that, because that doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work that way. So I'm going to go ahead and put in this leg here. And I like to put this stuff in sketchy and then fine line it, because everybody's like, man, that scribble stuff's horrible. That scribble stuff's horrible. And then when the finished piece comes out, they're like, I want to buy it. I want to buy it. And I'm like, no. So it's like, it looked way worse than it actually came out. Yeah, no kidding. You think? So I really like doing that. Love being underestimated. See, that was a big thing for me when I was a kid. People used to underestimate my drawing, and then I would go in and I would crush it, and then they'd be like, well, wow, man, that's awesome. And I was like, uh-huh. So I take that personal. That bullying stuff is crazy, man. I don't tolerate that at all. I had a young man that I was working with, and his dad was a little bit of a bully to him, uh, pretty heavily, in fact, and wanted him to quit drawing and go into sports. And it wasn't his thing. And I had to straighten it out. I had to show him, you can make a career with this. And then, unfortunately, I felt bad afterward because I insulted him way further than I thought I did. So I hurt his feelings. But his son is still drawing comics and moved on, It's all cool. So they have a really good relationship now. So that's a bonus. But anyway, we'll see what happens with this image and see how it comes out and see how everything comes across here. Boom. Now I know that doesn't look right at the first onslaught, but it will after I start detailing this thing out. Because like I said, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay on tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that I hit everything coming up with you guys and stuck true to the 1 year marker. So we're still working on it, and I want to stick that way. I want to keep that going on. I don't want that to break. Do not want that to break. Kind of building up that ridge right there. Cool deal. This probably isn't as long because I made this kind of Kirby style, and I wanted to pay the homage to Kirby, and I kind of put it down like at a blunt angle instead of a elongated angle because I didn't want him to look like the Flash because he's not built that way. I wanted him to look more like, Captain America, a little bit thicker, squattier in build. And I just wanted to make sure that look was there. So that's the reason for the leg being just a little bit shorter. Because he's a big, thick guy. Got to make sure he looks the part. And Kirby used to just, it was crazy. Kirby almost put him in Spider-Man poses. I loved it. Loved it. Because it's like he can be a 6'2" or 4 tall guy and scrunch down into Spider-Man poses. Thought that was classic. Hi, Abigail. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Jeremy, you made it, buddy. I didn't think you were going to make it, pal. But, yeah, I always find it interesting to see how people do this kind of stuff, It was, who was it? Frank Miller had Spider-Man and Daredevil cross over in the Spider-Man series that he was working on. And it was so strange the way he did that. Because he made him really, really scratchy and really tiny in comparison. And he made this shot where Spider-Man and Captain America were face-to-face talking. And if you read a comic book now, Captain America's always been like, compared to Spider-Man. But in this book, he had him like this for the whole issue. And it was weird because Peter Parker's not that tall. That character of Spider-Man is not that tall. He's a little guy. And I always found that really, really funny. So, the tip there is be sure to lay it all out and make sure the anatomy is appropriate for the character you're drawing. I see that so often, and it just busts me up to no end. And I don't want to insult anybody and tell them, but because I don't want people, artists are very temperamental. And being one myself, I know. And I go along and, I don't want people coming along criticizing and ripping on me, so I don't want to go rip on them. It's a due respect. But I tell you, though, it is always funny to see how people will just do this stuff without even thinking about it and giving proper props to the character's anatomy. They make Wolverine face off that way as well, and it's just, I'm like, really? Have you ever seen the profile of the character? Have you ever done the work? Well, no, I saw Hugh Jackman in the movie. Well, Hugh Jackman's not accurate in the comic book world as Wolverine. He crushes it on the big screen, but he's not he's not Wolverine in the comics. Wolverine is like half his height. So you have to take into accountability all that stuff. And I see that all the time when people are drawing. And like I said, I never want to go behind anybody and criticize them or critique them or judge their stuff, you know. Norm Rapman, which is an inker, he's an old school image inker and artist, and he works for DC Comics now, and he does tons and tons of work for them. And I went in not knowing it was the real Norm and said, hey man, and I was only playing, but he took it completely wrong at first. And I was like, hey man, you'll never make it with that, doing the Flash that way, because he had the same arm and the same leg on the same side up in front. And it was hilarious. And I was like so responsive in trying to help at the time. I was like, dude, you really got to fix that leg, you know, that arm or that leg, one or the other. And I felt like such a jerk because of the fact that I didn't verify who it was. And it was a quick sketch and he didn't care, you know. And we've been friends ever since. But, you know, it's one of those things where so many people just come through and don't think about that. And then it'll catch you by surprise. So, you know, I had to take a step back and remember, you know, not to jump in there so quickly because I might offend someone. And I'm so outspoken and blunt with helping in my internet marketing stuff that I don't stop to filter that on occasion. And it has seriously bit me in the butt. It seriously bit me in the butt. And I so regret doing that. But if only bittersweet, though, because of the fact that I got to be a friend of, you know, Norm. And I've loved the guy's work since he was in Extreme with Rob Liefeld and at Image and did so many things going on. You got to get out there and pay close attention to that stuff because it'll get you. It will get you. So anyway, moving on. Just kind of building up that classic leather glove look. And adding in those features and all that fun stuff. Because I give him the big, thick canvas gloves like he had in the first Avenger movie. And go from there. Now I'm going to start weighting him up a little bit. So, got to build out that chest just a little. Give it some weight. There we go. And it's funny how it's just little accents like that that'll really start to build it up and give it mass. Because one of my favorite things is to do this. Go along the bottom like this with a little bitty line, just like this, and that's it. And it'll give it that ridge line, and it'll pop it out. And it'll build it up and add about 10 pounds of mass to it real quick right off the edge. It's just instantly, boom, there's a flex. So, really cool. Little tip I picked up along the way. Really cool little tip. Now I'm going to go in here and put in these massive muscles here up on his shoulders. We'll get the deltoid tendons going off that way because they come off that collarbone right here and they go right here and connect, and they connect over and they connect right up on the ridge, and then we have this muscle going here this way, and that tendon from the center one runs up this way like that up into this muscle, and then it connects by itself right there, and then it connects off another one right there, and then you have the back, which is the laterals. So like I said, I don't know all of the muscles and all that stuff. I just like to build out what I do know and make it look massive, like a collection of muscle. And when you do that, it tends to make it lean in. So that's why I like to put this shadow right here, because it's a little fibrous that way. And then you have the rear delt back here that connects to the lats. And you don't really have to worry about that one because that goes down and around and down and around into the back. And it gives the top part of that shoulder fin when they raise their arms up, where these muscles right in here tend to get a little more absorbed because they take all the weight, you know. And a friend of mine called them shake weighty, which busted me up to no end, because these are the first muscles to wear out when you're stressed in your body, in your upper torso. These muscles in your neck are what supports your head and your shoulders. And when they wear out, that's why you wake up with like creaks in your neck or whatever, because your head will give out, because they'll counter strain your neck muscles. Now bust me up to no end shake weighty. It's an immature thing, but it works. Because if you don't know what shake weighty is, it's an infomercial tool for working out, and you do it like 10 times. You hold it in front of you, and it's this weight. You just sit there and shake, and it goes up and down and up and down, and it jiggles, and it makes this cool kitty squeak noise, kind of a honking noise, a little bit back and forth, and they break after about 10 minutes. So, I mean, there's other innuendos with that as well, of course, but I don't go there with that. That's not my thing. But as far as it breaking after 10 minutes, that's funny to me. And that's the wing of that branch we're going to take. So anyway, I don't want to go too far into that either. But I'm going to start drawing in this hand and this thumb here. And get this other glove down so we can knock this out, because right now it's really sketchy. And I don't want to go over where I'm going to do the shield here. So there we go. Pop in a strap right there. And I'm going to black that out so you guys can see that. We've got a strap. We've got this other knuckle right here. And then we got the pinky knuckle scrunched down there. So that's a beautiful thing. That's done. Connect up that arm. And now this is going to be the glove right over here. This is going to be the arm of the gauntlet that he wears. And I'm going to put this in right here to kind of separate things a little bit and give out that curve for the muscle to go out on the forearm, where it turns from the bicep into the forearm. And it goes right here. And those little muscles like that in that median that I told you about, that muscle that lifts up your arm and lifts up your forearm, that's what I told you. That right there is a curved muscle that goes on the outside of the arm right there. So it's the same muscle set that goes on the outside of the arm. If you bend your arm, it makes kind of a little hump right there on the side, and that's that muscle expanding out as part of the forearm. But it's not the primary muscle. The primary muscle runs down here across the front of the forearm on that side. So you can flex your forearm and move your hand and turn it and be able to see that. But anyway, so we've got Cap laid out here. He's starting to come together a little bit. Going to put in the swashbuckler boots, which I love on this guy. Awesome stuff. Is he a soldier or is he a pirate? No one knows. Maybe both. He was in the army, but he fights. He was in the army, but he's a front man like a Marine, but yet he dresses like a sailor. What can I say? So it is what it is at this point, folks. It really is. So we've got that going on. Now here's a cool way to do this boot. When you do a fabric crease on a boot, go like this. Put in this little funky hook and then go up, and then boom, you're done. Yay, we've got a crinkle. I like it. Now we've got that going on. Gonna make this happen just a little bit like that. Just boom, a little bit of effect, and that's it. Is all it takes, and you have a whopping boot. Now we're gonna pop in his ankle here. Anytime you say pop an ankle, it freaks people out automatically. I love it. Love it. It makes people cringe instantly. Gonna draw that boot down there. Go with the Joe Kubert style with the blocky heel and toe. So we have that going on. We're not going to draw the back of the boot. We're not going to draw the heel itself because it's up in the air because he's running on it. So he's leaning forward, and that's why we have more of an elongated foot, because we're seeing the top of the foot rather than the back of it. So that's why we're doing that. I'm going to go in here and pop in this belt buckle. Right there. Done deal. Now we're going to go put in those pant straps right here. Really thin. Make them match up. Boom, done. Pants are on. We've got that locked away. Now I'm going to go in here and do the A real quick before I come back to this lower leg. And then we'll start refining this thing a little bit. Going to get real still for a second so I don't mess this up. And here it comes, right down the middle of the eyes. Boom. Excuse me. Clearing my throat right in the microphone. That's never good. So now we've got Captain America. He's coming together really, really quick. Okay. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to put this Kirby style. I really dig doing this like this to give it a little bit of depth. But in this version of Cap, he's still wearing the blue shorts. So we're going to give him those kind of the Kirby style blue shorts, which I love doing this because this defines him without making him look like he's wearing a superhero cup or showing off too much of detail of things we don't need to really see with a guy wearing shorts. So gonna keep it G-rated for the family. So there we go. And I'll put the shadow down here for the underweight of the underwear. There we go. Now we'll go in and pop in a couple of pieces like that. And because of the angle of this, I'm going to put one right there. So now we've got that going on, right? And we've got this really cool belt going in here, which I am going to cut in this way. And I'm going to black this out when I ink it. But I still want to draw that in for the dimension of putting it together. There we go. Cool. That looks a little more dynamic for me, so I'm happy with it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in off this line here. I'm going to make one like this. I'm going to make one like this. And what that'll do is that'll drag that thigh muscle down here just a little bit and cap out that knee. Now, the reason we want to do it this way is because, you know, everybody goes in and says, you know, you shouldn't draw this one too far down. But the more elongated you are and the more athletic you are, it actually does stretch out. That's the whole point. So you want a shadow on that one side anyway, because remember, we have to do perceived light and work on light that isn't there. So this being the underside of his leg, we're going to put that shadow there for the sake of having a front streak on the side of his leg. And then we can go in on this outside and put in a little bit of a drop shadow right there to make that pop Kirby style
right over my diamond-shaped kneecap. When I was a kid and I used to draw comics, people used to pick on this because they'd say, why are you drawing that way? It looks like you're drawing a spider instead of drawing a knee. Well, the thing is, the kneecap actually goes out like that. It's 2 sections. And if you want to get technical with it in literal translation, it has 3 pieces, because the cap, what they call the kneecap, is a floating bone that goes right here. But in comics, they never show that piece. They always divide it. But there is an actual floating piece of bone right there called a kneecap, and that's what your kneecap is. So I never put it on there because no one else ever does, and I just learned to do it this way. Because when you bend the leg up, the kneecap actually floats down here. It moves. So, and it shifts back up if you fall on your knees, and that's why if you fall on your knees with your knees bent, that's why you hit that kneecap. It shifts down. So that's why when the knee's bent, you never see it. Just so you know. Like I said, I'm not an anatomy expert, but in that case, I do happen to know a little bit now and again. Just saying. Just saying. So we're going to draw this around here, and I'm going to make it kind of bent up where this crease right here on this one is right down here in the middle. And you're getting more of that flail out because of the fact that he's, you know, gravity's going to pull that down and he's got his leg back. But it's still a thick fabric, so you're going to have the contours in place instead of it just sagging down. So the leather's still going to hold up. It just may not hold up as much as some people would like it to. So just going to put a little bit of a shadow under there. Pull that down a little bit. But yeah, this is one of those things where I'm going to draw on this foot while I'm talking. You just kind of have to wing it and think about the way the materials move, you know? And it's like in marketing, when you go into marketing, you have to go in and say, okay, this is the thing, you know, how is this traffic going to respond? How is this site going to respond? And it's the same thing there. You know, I've done this for comics way longer than I have for marketing. But the thing is, with marketing, I find it a little easier because there's less of an exact chance of messing it up, because it's more, for lack of a term, it's more freestyle. That's the best way to do it. So there we go. Now we're going to do something really cool. I'm going to step out here. Boom. Now what you're getting is the hard edge of that boot. Now I'll put one down here like this. So he has soles on his boots. He's not Spider-Man. It doesn't stick. So now you got all that going on. This is pretty heavy. Now I'll tell you flat out. Check this out. 1, 2. I get asked about this all the time when I get asked about Captain America, if I draw him or not. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it goes all the way up to the bottom of the ribs. 9 right there. There are 9 stripes on the original Captain America for World War II. If you don't put in the stripes for that, it will drive you nuts. Oh my goodness. Is he going to have the fish scale? Okay, Kevin was talking about the kneecap situation, and then he was asked a question about the sequins. Is he going to have fish scales? Is how he phrased it. Yes, he's going to have the sequins. We're going to put the sequins on him right now, as a matter of fact. But I wanted to put in these lines first to show you guys that there are 9 lines on his uniform where it goes from blue to red and white, back down to the black belt and the blue shorts. Okay, we have to have that in place. Now we can do in the sequences, the sequins, and make that all cool and whatever, you know. I'm going to mark that out real quick, but I want to define that A. And I'm going to grab my micro eraser right here, which I love this little guy. And I'm going to take that out so that we have the A balanced. Now I'm going to go back in, ding the light twice. Way to go. But Now I'm going to put in the sequences. Okay, you have to be the sequences. Geez, the sequence. Now this is the way I do it. I go in from about where I would count out the rows and think about where the sequence start, and then I go in and I do this. A lot of artists will do this, and you'll see these little funky sections of the sequins and the scaling, and it's supposed to be chainmail on the fabric, but if you ever notice, it's sequins on the costumes, and that's why the modern Marvel costumes don't have it, because it doesn't look like sequins. Okay, right there. You know, it doesn't look like scales, it looks like sequins, and it's supposed to be chainmail, which was the original Kevlar. So I like to put in just a few of those, and I don't want him to look like he's going to set sail or anything. So like I said, I just try to put in a few of those and then go like over here, and I'll pop in one more, maybe two more, and leave it like that. And then I'll go over to this side. I'm going to count them down here. Right about here's where they should be. So you pop in two, pop in one to break that up so it doesn't look like a butt. And you go off and do this. And you don't close them all. You don't have to close every one of them because you want them to look like they're individualized. So I like to do that because of the fact that it makes them look more sequential of real organic material and like they're really going to move. And so many people just go overkill with these. They do it all the time with Aquaman. I hate that. Okay, cool deal. Now, notice that this one swooshes up this way, this one swooshes this way. They change shape a little bit, change not necessarily size, but shape a little bit because they're changing and pulling apart and all that good stuff. So now we're going to go up here into the shoulder. And let's see where this would come out. Boom, 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 boom. Right about here. Always go off center with these. Never go right on center of the image of where it's going to go. Because what you'll end up doing is you'll end up choking it out and overworking it. And then it'll look funky because they will give you the curse of the aligning scale, and it'll line up with the position line, which is of the gesture line. And there's an imaginary line going through here to me to where that's the way his arm is going to go. And if you draw that line in your mind, you'll line it up with that, and you'll have four of those sequences going. The set sequences going along of the sequence along that gesture line, and it'll go ding, 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 and you'll look at it all day long and never figure it out, and it'll drive you crazy. So don't draw your sequences of sequins on the gesture line itself because it will drive you bonkers. I am not one to go in and draw every one of these, and I am also not one to draw on the edge of the edge of the suit. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like it to be closed and smooth around. It's just a thing. It's a personal choice. But I would much rather it be correct rather than realistic and literal. Because if you're doing that, then it's not closed fabric. And there's a weakness there to the integrity of the overlap. And I just don't like that, so I don't do it. Now I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right about here. I'm going to pop in a couple of more. There we go, cool deal. Now I'm going to go down here. I want to put that right there. Just going to move that over a little bit. 1, 2, done. And now I'll go down this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm going to go back over this way to show the curve of the muscle. Made that one a little big, but that's okay. And we want to top these off a little bit like that. I'm going to add one more down there to throw that off. And then 2, 3, yeah, right here. And again, not setting it on that on that gesture line, which goes down this way, I'm sending it off parallel to it to where it goes a different direction. Because if you don't, it will go down the line and show, and it's weird. Don't do that. So now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 and put one right down here for the bottom of the arm and a partial. There, cool. Now we have his sequence in, and I'm going to draw, I've left them up here on the chest and this upper torso area. I'm actually going to draw 1 or 2 down here to kind of throw everything off. And there we go. Cool. Now I'm going to draw 1 down here and 1 right here, and we've got that going on. Now, he's got that all sequenced out. He's all sequenced out, sequenced out, sequenced out. So we're going to go over here and work on this glove just a little bit. And as you guys know, if you've seen my stuff before, you know I don't go heavy on these things because I don't go photorealistic, and I don't want to mess with all that detailing for it to be, you know, just lit perfectly and all that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dividing line right there, and that's it. So now we've got the upper light, we've got the lower light, and then we've got the highlight around the edges. So we're good to go. Now, I'm going to go back in here and do a little more work on this face and kind of shade this out around where it looks a little more like a helmet. And I'm going to define this mask a little bit heavier underline, so it has some weight to it, and we can get some more definition in here like that. Now I'm going to go in and pop in his eyes and all that good stuff, and want to define this lip a little bit more. Like I said, it kind of looks like a Walt Simonson kind of thing a little bit. I dig it. We're going to give him his chin. Got that big prominent cap chin on there. So now we got the little aggression line. So that's sunk in. Going to put a little bit around that one side of the mouth, and I'm going to put a double mark over here to kind of shape that up a little bit. A little more pow to it. Crunch out that brow. And you want to be real careful with this guy, because if you get too musculature and if you get too musculature driven, you'll go over detailed and you'll start swamping it out, and you'll have a David Finch kind of thing, which is awesome if that's your style. Or you'll go Rob Liefeld, and you don't want to do that either, because then you'll start to get blocky and everything will be hard rounds and over detailed hash marks, and you don't want to do that either. Which, no offense to that, because I'm a huge Rob Liefeld fan, but I don't draw like him. So, you know, keep it realistic to what you can do in the mass of what you're doing, and don't go overkill into everybody else's direction. So I hope that makes sense in that regard. But if it doesn't, you'll find out the hard way. So hang in there. But, you know, that's what an eraser's for. But I'm just going to shadow underneath the edge of this boot flap here a little bit, like that, and crinkle down that toe and that foot. And now down here around the edge, I'm going to go like this, boom. I'm going to go over here, boom. And I'm going to shade that in because I want to have that shadow of that foot going this way. Now I can come across and put in that overweight. Boom, done, right? No. I called him, Kevin's picking at me, saying that I'm a little bit confused over calling them sequins. And the thing is, I know that they're scales for the chainmail. I call them sequins to make fun of them because they drive me bonkers. Okay, that is the thing. So when I call them sequins, it's not because I don't know what they are. Thank you very much. But bonehead. But anyway, I call them sequins because of the fact that I like to call them that to make fun of them, because of the fact that they look like they should be on a dress, not on armor. But hey, whatever. But who am I to judge that, you know? I didn't create him, and there's different ways to approach it, so whatever. But Kevin's messing with me, so just to let you guys know. Note to self, block Kevin from the show. Nah, Kevin and I are buddies. We play. It's good. It's all fun. Nothing personal. It's all good. If I took it personal, I couldn't hang out with this guy. Oh, let's see. Back to the point, though. I like to draw in this little curve on the front of the cab. A lot of people won't draw that, but when it's shadowed underneath, I like to put this in so that I can do this and take it up the edge of the front side or the fore side of the leg, because there's that little crazy muscle on the front of the shin, and I don't want to shadow that because I want to use that as an under highlight. So then I put in this little box shape on the other side and map it out like that. And then what I can do is I can come down this way and put in a little bit of definition here and there and kind of cup this line right on the outside of this other side of the calf here and on the other side of the knee, and break that up and add in these really cool little details, and then go across here and just go boom, 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 boom on the underside of the leg, and it's all done. And then we have that highlight that leads in on the outside of the leg, and then you have that shadow going on. Now, a lot of my art doesn't have that. I'm going to go back down to this boot too because I want to add a shadow in here. But I know a lot of my art doesn't have that, and I don't like doing it too often. But in this case, because of the fabric that this suit has, I want it to hold the true dynamic of the suit. And the only way to do that is to shade it up properly. And if you don't, it's just not going to hold up. I mean, literally, it just doesn't do it justice and hold up for what you want for Captain America. So there we go. Cool deal. And now got that going on. And I'm going to go in on this underside of this thigh here. And like I said, I don't want to overshadow this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out with smooth shadows. And I'm going to go up here like this. And then I'm just going to kind of block this in so that I can put in the colors rather than blocking it out with full shadow. Because so many people go off and just black out the whole side of the leg. Don't do that. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's way overworked at that point, and then you're in trouble. And you know, now I can come in like this and put in this drop shadow right here on the outside of the calf and really bring it together with the underside shadow of this knee. So that's what I've got here on this inside thigh muscle right there. Boom, done. See, it pops it right underneath, puts some weight on it, puts the highlight on top, puts the shadow on the bottom. You're ready to rock and roll. Now back here on this inside thigh muscle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a classic curve, and then I'm going to go in with my pencil and just go boom, 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 and just feather it out just a little bit, and that's it. That's all you have to have there. You only have to simulate the weight on one side to primarily make it work and look like it's going to come to life. I like to do it that way. Now, with this coming off of these shorts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in right here, and I'm going to come up underneath this belt line, and I'm going to put in this classic waistline kind of hourglass, crooked hourglass thing that they do. And this is an old school technique for blocking out a shadow. So we have that going on like that. Just a couple of hash lines, boom, done deal. Now, a lot of people come in and put the whispering feather thing on this edge too, like this. And I mean, it works, but it's starting to get over detailed for what I like to have. So I'm going to back off that a little bit. But I am going to come in on this line right here, pop in a little bit of a ridge for the inside of that top muscle where they divide on the thigh there. And show that short divide right here where those muscles meet, like this right here, this one and this one. And then you have that little thin muscle on the inside, which is shorter. And then you have that crossing right here, that cross intersection right above the knee. That's what I'm doing right here. Just putting that little sliver right there will make that happen. And then you go in right up against the kneecap and shade it just like that. Done deal. Boom. You got the whole leg defined. And it doesn't have to show every little bit of it. It just has to show enough to get it sparked off in the mind to think that it's simulated. So once you have that group of muscles show up, then you don't have to worry about all that crap. So just simulate the muscle as a group, and then you don't have to worry about it. Now, I like to go in with this one and come in right about here in the middle and pop in this funky little thing on the bicep for cap, because that white needs to be broken up. And by doing that, it makes it have a little bit of a contrast in the fabric. And I can go in and feather this in like this for a little bit of weight and shadow and leave that open. And then come right down here, put in a little bit there to show that crease in the arm. And of course, right up underneath the bicep and the tricep, to oppose the weight, you do one on the back side just a little. So got all that going on. Now we put in just a little bit of a ridge line right here to show the outside curve of the bicep where the light shifts and the muscle changes, and you got that going on. We've almost got this guy coming out of here, and I'm not going to do the eyes just yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and map out the star just a little bit to show it stands off of his chest just a little. And now I'm going to go in and use this glove for defining this little line right here and popping this out and giving me a little overlight for the shield to come out in just a minute. I'm going to have to clean that up when I ink it, because I'm kind of sketching this in, and I know it's not precisely even, but it'll work. Remember, this is a sketch, so yeah, it's coming out. Normally I would have taken the time to oval that out. I've got some tools for that I would use to round that bad boy out and make it even. But I eyeballed it pretty solid. I'm actually happy with it. Okay. All right. Cool deal. Now we've got that going on, and I'm going to put this pad up here because it's just a regular piece of folded paper, so I don't smudge this to death with my hand when I start drawing in these lines here. And I'm going to start from the center here out, because I've already got my loose guides there. Just going to kind of guide this out a little bit. And if it's not exact, I apologize. That could happen because it looks like it's a little high, but I'm okay with that, because again, this is a sketch, and at this angle it's tough to see where it would go anyway without the tools mapping it all out. And like I said, I sketched this out in like 10 minutes, so, and I have the whole thing to do. This is a big piece, man. I fought this piece for like a week. I don't know if I hit a rut or what. It was weird. But I'm okay with that. It happens. And it forces growth. It forces growth. Now, anytime you do Captain America, understand that the original shield has the modern shield is a little bit different, but the original shield is always red, white, red, blue star. Always. And that's the original round shield, by the way. Not the original crest shield or the shovel shield, as it's known. So just know that. Now I'm going to pop in this star here. And then we're going to go back up and finish up those eyes real quick. The eyes have it. And then we're going to wrap this bad boy up for the night. And I'll start in on one of the other two in the next session. So we'll have that. Now, and I want to do this arm as well first. But I like the idea of Captain having the white eyes. Captain America having the white eyes too. That's a new one for me. He normally always has his eyes showing, which I find that really interesting to see that he doesn't at this point pop a big Hail Hydra on there. So make him go to the dark side. Which I've been thinking about that too. I've been getting asked a lot if I would do a Star Wars set. I'm thinking about it. Really. I thought about BB-8 yesterday, about possibly doing that one. And then I thought about also possibly doing Darth and maybe a couple of the other classics. C-3PO possibly, Obi-Wan. I like the new. I do like the new films, but I'm tending to lean towards the classics, and especially more now that this last set has come out. So we'll have to wait and see what foolishness ensues. There we go. Cool deal. We've got Cap. Now I'm going to pop in his eyes here. Going to make him looking out the top of them. Make him look all angry, like he's going somewhere. I've got a party to be at. I'm late. No, you can't tag along. No, I won't share an Uber with you. So, all joking and foolishness aside, I think we've about got him there. So, I am having a good time tonight. But, cool and deal. I hope this looks good to you guys because I am sure digging it. And it looks like fun to me. It really does. I'm having a blast here. Just toning this up just a little bit. And we're going to get a little bit of a grit going in there. Now he looks a little more lively. And I'm not going to go in and do the trademark bushy eyebrows that stick out of the top of the visor because the older mask was heavier and it didn't do that. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it helmet style. And I hope you guys dig it. I really enjoy this. I'm going to map out this belt real quick. And I hope you guys are having fun with this one, and I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I leave you with the tidbit of we only have this planet for a little while to rock this party, so let's leave it clean and ready for the next generation. And with that one said, I'm going to finish up this belt, and then I'm going to call it a day, folks. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow with another piece of this, and we will go from there to finish it up because I really want to get Namor and the original Torch on here and get this inked up and colored it, and go from there. So I will talk to you tomorrow in the next one. See ya.